Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Rowell. Alright, I was out doing a little hike last night, which I often do on summer evenings. It's really not any other time you can go out and walk around without just sweating to death because of how hot it is. Even now we're into September, it's still in the mid-90s, and we're actually supposed to be up to about 100 by the end of the week. So yeah, our summer isn't over yet. Well, anyway, I was out walking around last night, and I was actually walking in a place I don't usually walk, and as I was walking through kind of an area that was kind of undeveloped, I found a couple of interesting seed pods on the ground. Now, I've been known, if I find like a weird seed pod, I might try and plant it and see what comes of it. You never know, it might be kind of cool. So I found actually two of these things, brought it home with me, and I'm going to put them in the ground today. I put them in pots actually to start with, and let's see what grows. But before I do that, I actually want to try and figure out ahead of time what it is I'm looking for. There were a lot of trees in the area. I suspect it's some sort of a tree pod, but I'm going to run out there right now to that location and let's take a look at what's there and see if we can at least figure out what kind of a tree this thing came from. But before we do that, I want to show you these pods. These things are cool. Yeah, these are the seed pod things that I found. Just for reference, that's about the size of an apple. So these two were just sitting on the ground, just right next to each other. And even in the dark, I saw them. I said, "Oh, those are interesting. What are those?" And I picked them up and realized it's some sort of a seed pod of some sort. And so I brought them home and kind of woke up this morning and said, "You know what? I'm going to try planting those and see what happens." So that's what we're going to do for today's vlog. But before I do that, like I said, I want to run over to the property that I found that and see if I can find a little bit more information, maybe what the tree looks like. I'm not very good at identifying trees, but who knows, maybe one of my viewers will be able to do that. So this is about where I was walking. Oh yeah, see, there's one right there. I was going to come out here and see if I could find another one. There's another one right there. So this must be the tree that's producing it, because I just found two of them right here along the side of along the road, right about here. So the fact that there's one of these berries here that's been partially consumed by something, so I'm not going to take that one. But this must be the kind of tree that's going to produce. So I don't know what that berry is, but maybe one of my users can recognize this tree. There's one of the berries right there in the tree, so that confirms this is the tree that produced that. So yeah, if anyone can tell me what this is, I'd appreciate it. That's the leaves right there. Kind of a cool shade tree though, right? Give it 20 years, that should be pretty good. Alright, so now that I'm back from the property and at least have a little idea what the tree looks like, I'm going to run over to Home Depot and get some planting soil, something that's going to be suitable for trees. I've already got some pots to plant them in, because when I buy potted plants, if the pot is at least reasonably quality, I'll try and keep it and use it again. And I found a couple of suitable, about 5-gallon pots, I think, that will be perfect for this. So let's run over to Home Depot and get some dirt. Alright, I'm back from Home Depot. I've got 2 bags of soil that's specifically designed for trees and shrubs and roses, so this should be a good place to start. These are the 2 5-gallon pots that I'm going to put the seed pods in. And since I want to kind of give them a little bit more water, maybe at least for a while they're still kind of going through their formative stages here, I'm going to actually probably set them in the garden in between the jalapeno plants, because those usually get watered every day or so, and you want to keep the soil moist when you're growing seedlings. So first thing I'm going to do is just put some soil on each of the buckets. We'll put the pod in there, we'll cover it up, give it a good drink, and we'll see what happens. So I've filled each of the pots up about 3/4 to maybe 80% full of soil. Kind of pushed the seed pod into the soil a little bit, so it kind of half submerged. And now I'm going to just fill it up the rest of the way. I don't really know how deep to bury these things. It varies from different plants, but I would say probably 2 inches beneath the soil should be fine for a seed pod this side. So I'm going to put some more soil in on top of this. Compact it down a little bit, and then we're going to give it a good drink. So I got the soil in now, kind of up to the top. I packed it down a little bit because a lot of times when you put soil in a bucket, over time it kind of settles down on its own, and then all of a sudden you're like 2 or 3 inches under the rim of the pot. So by settling it down and kind of compacting it a little bit right now, hopefully there'll be a little less settling at the end. Now all I really got to do is give it a good drink, and so we're just going to do that, and we'll give it a real healthy drink here for a little while, and let it rest a bit, and then we're going to put it into the area where it's going to probably spend hopefully the next few years, and we'll see if we get something out of it. I really hope we do. Always interested in something interesting growing in the yard, especially when it's something that, you know, kind of started as something like this funky little seed pod that you just found on the ground. And we got a little for you too. By the way, this is kind of the area around where the lantana was planted underneath the planter that I did the bed in like last spring. So all this is doing really well, isn't it? All these plants are growing really well. They're holding up really well under the heat. That's some of that ornamental grass that actually survived the process of having the patio installed. This stuff was pummeled because this is where they drove in with the cement mixer thing that they hauled the cement into here with. So yeah, it's doing, that stuff is really resilient. This one here too is another example of that, because that was a piece, that was some lantana that was in here before all of the planting happened, and I just thought I killed it, but it came back and it's actually stronger than any of the rest of them. So yeah, it's just funny how this stuff, how certain plants are just really resilient and hold up really well. And this is that ornamental grass that I planted about, probably a year and a half ago in this part of the patio cover here. These things in the back, they aren't doing so well. They didn't hold up very well with the heat of the summer this year, but that's okay. This ornamental grass is doing really well, and while you can see the individual main plants that I planted here, you can see that it's kind of just spreading and filling in the whole area. So that is sort of what I wanted, and got some kind of cool flowers on it now too. I guess what that does is that's the starting of the berries, because eventually there'll be little black berries on the side of it, and I suspect that those black berries are being picked off by the animals, moved around, and that's probably what's starting all these little seedlings that are growing in the middle here. So yeah, the yard's doing well, you know, despite the heat of the summer. It did really well this year. More good news than bad news. The elephant ears are holding on, but they're getting pummeled still by the heat. They're both still alive, and you know, but the problem is when the leaves come up, they kind of get scorched by the sun and don't last long. But as long as they keep coming up, you know, I guess that's good and encouraging. On the other hand, these philodendrons are really thriving here. They're doing well. So that's something I'll definitely have to try again. That seems to be a good success story in this little area here. And I think we're getting close to the end of the season of the okra, but the okra is still doing well. That spike up there, that one's at least 10 feet off the ground. Now it seems to me what happens, the leaves seem to stop at about this height. They don't seem to go higher, but then the spike just keeps growing up and up and up and growing more and more okra. So I don't know, we're doing pretty well on the okra front. Tomatoes still haven't produced anything, and all sorts of flowers, and the plants seem to be healthy, just not producing anything this year. I don't know. Somebody suggested on the comments or one of the live streams or something that maybe the okra is leaching minerals out of the soil. That might be something to consider. Actually, now that I'm looking, I actually do see a tomato in there. You see that? That might be our first tomato of the season. So maybe this isn't over yet. I was also looking at the jalapeno plants. They don't look very healthy or very big or very successful, but they're alive, and actually I am seeing some chilies on them. There's a chili right there, and that's a serrano chili, and I think I saw jalapeno up on one of the front plants here. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. There's a jalapeno pepper growing on that one. So I don't know, maybe because of the season they just came in really late this year. And maybe now all of a sudden in the fall we're gonna get pummeled with jalapenos. I can live with that. So a couple of hours have passed by now, and I've moved these over into this section kind of between the two garden beds. I figure at this point they'll be out of the way, and yet they'll still get a lot of overspray from the sprinkler heads, because the sprinkler heads actually do a pretty good job hitting not only the bed on each side but also kind of spraying into the middle. So I think they'll get some good water here. I don't know what's going to happen with these. It's going to be interesting, but you'll come along for the ride. We will definitely let you know what happens with these in the future. Until then, I think that's all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.